Welcome to the Business with Beers podcast. This is the place where we help entrepreneurs expand their business, build their wealth, and generate passive income. I'm your host, Brian Beers, an entrepreneur who's on a mission to inspire growth from everyone around me. Remember that you need to take the actions others won't, and you can live the life that others don't. Please be sure to check out my weekly newsletter that now drops every Thursday. It includes one quote, one tweet, one podcast recommendation, plus some business and investing insight from me. It's short and it's sweet. My goal is to provide you with just a couple gold nuggets to help inspire your growth. Go to brianbeers.com to subscribe. This is the first interview of a new series I'm launching where we talk to someone who's recently become a franchisee. They're going to be sharing their journey, the process for evaluating franchises they went through, and anything kind of that they wish that they knew that could help you on your journey. So today I've got Fabio Ceasar from Chicago, who I helped become a franchisee of Frios Gourmet Popsicles earlier this year. And I'm excited to kind of bring him on and have this conversation. So welcome.
Appreciate it, Brian. I'm excited to start chatting with you. And let's get this thing started. Awesome.
So give us some backstory. So before you became a franchisee, like what did you do for work?
Yeah, good question. So I'm 24. No, I'm 25 now. Sorry. My birthday just happened a couple of weeks ago, so I'm getting used to that. But I graduated from Michigan in 2020 and I was in tech sales. So I worked at Google for a year and was really enjoying my time there, but I wasn't kind of in love with what I was doing. So after that, I went to a startup, was there for about 7 or 8 months. Also enjoyed my time doing sales there as well, but kind of disagreed with maybe where the company route was going. And I went back into the corporate world with Numerator, which is a market research firm, doing tech sales there as well. So as you can see, there's kind of a trend with just sales in general. So that was kind of where I've had my footprint post-college, and now here I am with Frios.
Okay. And so what attracted you to buying a franchise? You've been in the corporate route, you've been in sales. I'm sure you probably have made a pretty good amount of money. Like, yeah. What attracted you to make this jump?
Honestly, like just to give some context, when I first moved to the US, I was originally born in Brazil, moved here when I was 2. I saw my parents start their own companies. My mom was a cleaning lady. My dad was in construction. And ever since then, I was just always thinking of how do you turn this into a business? Growing up that way. In college, while like a lot of people were going out and having their fun, which I definitely did as well, but I co-founded an app. I almost accidentally kind of launched a shoe brand with my college roommate. And I didn't even realize all that sort of stuff wasn't really normal to the typical person until I really started like talking to my current friends about it now. They're like, what'd you do on your Saturday night? Like you went to the bus stop and you spoke with people who were going to parties because you knew you had 5 minutes of their time. Like that's kind of the stuff I love doing. And then with Frios, like why Frios specifically, it's just, I came across your tweet in January, yep. Right? And I wasn't even following it at the time. It was like a suggested tweet. And just like I do with everything, I'm like, could this work in Chicago? So for like the next month or two, before even buying the franchise, I pretended like I was the CEO of Frios Chicago. And I tried to solve all those problems and make the decisions that a current CEO or founder would have to do. And I found myself slowly starting to fall in love with it and with the brand and meeting everybody. So that's kind of why entrepreneurship, and I want to make decisions.
So what were some of those things that you did? So you're fake CEO of in February. What are you in the dead of winter of Chicago when you're thinking about hustling popsicles? So like, what were some of the things you did to give yourself confidence in this?
Definitely. So first we had to try this product. Some people find out about Frios from trying it and then they're like, wow, I love this. Let me go sell it. I found out about it because of you. Yep. So Cliff, this is the CEO of Frios, sent me a box of all the different flavors. I had all my friends come over and I went to Target and I bought every single type of ice cream that there was out there. Similar flavors to what we had. We did blind taste tests and just every single time we kept winning. Frios kept winning. So that's funny. There's something here.
So you just like cut up the pop into like smaller portions to get it off the stick, I guess?
100%.
Okay.
Yes. Yep. And then I was like, all right, can this work? The product's good. Can this work in Chicago? And slowly when I started doing my research, I realized that the city of Chicago itself is one of the hardest cities in the United States to even get a food truck or ice cream truck license in the first place. If you look at LA, if you look at New York, per capita, they have so many more street vendors than Chicago does. And that's just more so some decisions that have been made with local laws. But I saw that problem and I was like, all right, I can stop here because it's hard. Or if I'm able to find kind of a loophole or solution to this problem, that's just much less competition out there. And if I'm here, then we could really branch out and do well there. So that I literally read hundreds and hundreds of hours of like local laws.
Yeah. So how did you figure out the per capita or per ice cream truck or whatever?
Yeah. I mean, I grew up in the city, so I know the city I know the city like the back of my hand. I've been to all these festivals that happen. If you have ever had a chance to come to Chicago during the summer, it is a different breed like any other summer. And I'm sure people say that about all their cities, but we have it cold here. So when it's warm, we want to go out. We want to have a good time. And so I did all that research and I went to City Hall in person, probably like 20 times. I know Anna Nelson there, who's the head of like the food truck department now. Like they're probably sick of seeing me, but I love them.
Did you bring them pops?
Well, you can't technically bring it to them because they're government officials. Yeah. But I'm going to see them out in the streets and they're definitely going to get a chance of it. But not just then. Okay, I figured out sort of the workaround for how to get permitted. And then it's like, how do I even like get into festivals? Do people, how easy it is to sell this certain product? I've been in sales. I was a leasing agent before. I was in tech sales, but how easy is it to sell ice cream? So I took a couple of the remaining sample bars I had left and actually went to some local delis, some local bars, and I did my pitch. And it was just the easiest pitch sort of that I've ever had to do, super natural because we're selling ice cream here. And when you say, hey, would you like to try the ice cream? Instead of, hey, are you interested in my software? It's a little bit different of a conversation. So that went well, and people already were like, okay, can I get into the store? You know, it's going to start heating up in April or May. And that was all before I even bought the franchise. So I'm like, okay, so there's something here. Let's go back to talking Cliff and let's get this thing ironed out officially.
Okay. And so what, have you since gone back to them to try to set up wholesale accounts? Yeah. So with Frios, we can go into the business model and everything, but there's wholesale, right? Where I can go into a local deli or maybe a pizza shop. And then there's also some just festivals that we can go into and just selling directly from our truck. For me, and a lot of the advice people have given me is like, the first year or two, you're not going to be profitable. You're going to grind, you're going to put a lot of hours in. Little do they know, I quit my job full and I invested pretty much my entire life savings into this, right in February, March, April, I got engaged and I'm getting married in July. I need to be profitable now, right? So there's that balancing point of, do I go into the wholesale and build up those opportunities more and that money come in more, slowly, or do I go on the streets? Do I start meeting with people and do I get into festivals to start getting that money into that cash flow earlier on? So I'm playing that balancing act. I have gone back to those people, but honestly, for those 1 to 2 months after I bought into the franchise, it was festivals. Finding a truck, festivals. What is quick cash that we can get to then create those contacts and then go into the stores? Okay. Yeah. So let's go over kind of the business model a little bit. You touched on it, but so what attracted you to? Is it that multiple revenue streams? You can get the higher margin work, you get the retail, lower margin, but a little bit more passive, just at a high level, walk through the business model and share whatever numbers you're comfortable sharing.
Yeah, sure. So we didn't start officially selling until pretty much June 1st, right? Okay. Yes, I bought into the franchise in February. But from February, April, May, there's a lot that happened where I kind of laid the foundation in order for us to be successful. You had to pick up find a truck. I had to get it converted. We went down to Alabama to pick it up and do the corporate training. So all that is happening at the same time. I'm trying to get into festivals. So that's one route we can touch on. Where in the city of Chicago, there's pretty much two festival management companies. There's Star Events and Chicago Special Events, and they host pretty much all the neighborhood fests. So if you were to go to any to a neighborhood throughout the summer, there's going to be a neighborhood fest there between 10,000 to 200,000 plus people that can go. So I wanted to get into contact with them. I did. I told them about the brand, and this is all before we even licensed, because I knew they were going to get filled up. Luckily, we were able to get into Andersonville Midsummer Fest, which actually already happened. That was our kind of our launch of Frios within a festival. Sunday, rained for most of the day, so we'll count it as like $250 in revenue.
Yep.
But on Saturday, from noon to 10 p.m., me, my fiance Samantha, and a couple of my other buddies were helping us out selling there, and we made $4,000 just in that one day. And I really think that number, and I know that number can increase just based on location of where we're at the festival. We were more so on the side in kind of like the kids area, but about 80% of our customers were adults, in my opinion. So we could branch out to not just the kids there, but after we did well in that festival, I spoke with the event organizer there, and we kind of had something to work with. Like, hey, people loved us. They didn't come back just one time. I had people coming back 2 or 3 times. I had a little bit of leverage to say, well, how can we do better for the next festival? So that was the one big part of it. And then wholesaling is another part. I think a lot of this business is just building relationships with people. And, I'm sure people say that about a lot of businesses, but it's not too technical. That's something big that really attracted me to Frios overall. It's if you can solve logistical problems and if you can have conversations with people, that is the reason why I think we've succeeded so far. And with wholesaling opportunities, it's just been kind of finding not a Mariano's, not a Cermak, not these bigger chains yet, but more of those corner stores.
The neighborhood.
And they already see us in the community and they see people loving us. And then in my opinion, I started having those wholesale conversations after we started getting pops in people's hands, because then I had something more to work with when going to them to say, hey, we've sold X amount of popsicles in our first 3 weeks. We've done it in this neighborhood, and I think people would really enjoy it at your place.
And what part of Chicago do you have? Did you buy?
So I like to say I'm pretty much the entire Chicago territory, just because there's nobody else here. Yeah. I have the pretty much most of the north side and downtown Chicago.
Okay. Like where all the festivals and stuff are.
So pretty much where all the festivals are. My office is actually located in Bridgeport, which is near the White Sox Stadium. But just growing up in the city, we have kind of like communities built in every single part that I've lived in, whether it be high school or moving back into college, post-college into Wrigley area. So pretty much most of Chicago's we have, but there's still some parts out there that people can grab.
Have you looked into, so one of the things I was thinking, when I think about this brand too, is like, it's the sporting events. Like, in Philly, right? There's all these people that tailgate for Phillies and Eagles and Flyers and whatever, it doesn't matter the year. And like, you go through with a cart through like a tailgating facility, all these drunk guys, I'm sure you could sell a ton of popsicles. Like, definitely. Have you looked into that at all? Is that hard? Probably from a gatekeeper standpoint?
I have, and I honestly wouldn't say it's hard from the gatekeeper standpoint. I think the only thing holding me back right now, it's me. I'm doing this full time on my own. Maybe some breaking news out here that we haven't released yet, but my fiance, she's a first grade teacher. She's one of the best ones out there. She's been teaching for 3 years. We actually made the decision for her not to return next summer or in next September, full-time teaching, to help me out with the company as well. So it's me and her now. We have a lot more time to be doing stuff like this. Yeah, and we're really pushing all of our chips into the table. So while
a lot of it is like building, it's for you kind of building kind of this army of, employees, or you get some young kids who you'll pay, like you kind of have the model where they're going to come maybe buy the pops from you, and then they go through and the thing, and then they sell them. And like, I don't know, you could work how you're going to do it. It's all cash, right? So like, or maybe not, maybe you got like Apple, Pay or whatever, but but then you get these kids from the neighborhood that, or, you friends, kids or whatever it is. And you kind of have them go through, or maybe you're just attacking the stadium, whatever it is, and like multiple people, but it's definitely like all that logistics and scaling, and it has to be just more than you. Cause like there's so much opportunity out there. Right. But it has to come through building a team and building the systems and
exactly.
But like, it's an easy thing. Like they're serving pre-packaged goods. Right. And like you said, they give smiles to people. It's not like it's this big complicated thing, which I think is what people really like about it.
Definitely.
Talk about some of your social media strategy. So I know you got Chicago on TikTok, right? Making these videos. Talk about like kind of what your plan is there.
Yeah. So, I graduated from college and I had a marketing degree, but in my opinion, they don't really teach you like social media strategies there. A lot of the stuff, it's been my own research. And when I look at like current brands out there, I always wanted to be the one making the decision. So it's cool to be in the seat now where, all right, Frios is a brand already, but Frios doesn't have a kind of a staple yet within Chicago. So I want to be as authentic as possible because I know people are going to love the pops when they try them. But when talking about our product, when releasing videos about it, a big part of Frios is having that experiential standpoint with customers, because it's not just the prepackaged ice cream, but it's the really cool ice cream truck that we have. It's us being able to pull up playing music for events and really just elevating events just overall. So we've been trying to do that with our social media. And I think a great example is we did a launch party for our brand last Friday. And we partnered up with a really awesome bar in the West Loop in Chicago called PB&J. And there we put out an incentive for people to RSVP. We had over 100 people RSVP to the event. We had a videographer come out and record the whole thing.
Okay. Yeah.
And it was just a great time where if people showed up, they got a free ice cream and a free seltzer, and it was from 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. Okay. You might not think that people are going to love ice cream at night, but I'm trying to get people used to the idea of, this doesn't go too bad with a cocktail or whatever. Yeah. And the event went super successful. And we actually just released our recap launch party video where we're talking with customers, showing kind of how fun the brand is. And that's what I believe in, because I think people are interested in the story overall. And then once they try it because of us, hopefully they try it again because they just love the product.
Yep. And what's cool too about it is it's totally it's a hustle business, right? The more you hustle, the more success you have. Yeah. Versus the less, if you think you're sit back passively and wait it, let it happen to you, you're not going to be successful. And, there's different brands that have different degrees of that. This is obviously on the extreme side, right? You got to get out there and work it, but then the rewards are probably bigger, and there's other brands that I think it's harder to do some of that hustle. Some of it is more advertising driven. You can't just go drive somewhere. If you want to make money tonight, you just go and drive to a kid's baseball game, right? And you could probably sell 100 pot, whatever it is. And I think that's what's interesting about this. And it attracts a lot of people, and then other people don't want that. They want the social media, do all the work. They just kind of want to sit back and get the leads. And that model works obviously, but this one is you turn it up as hot as you want to make it.
100%.
So what about, I don't know, going through kind of the training and getting started, any kind of advice or a part of that whole whirlwind?
So advice with Frios in general,
or anything that's applicable to franchising.
I didn't really talk to other franchisees outside of Frios. Obviously, I called people that had Frios in Dallas and in Phoenix, and I wanted to see how those cities were down there. But every city is different. Just advice I have: just pretend like you own the company before you invest in it, to see if you're really ready for that. And maybe Cliff wasn't super excited about me kind of selling the product already before me having bought into the franchise. Yeah. But I think that just made me more confident into doing it. And that by the time I did buy into the territory, I was already rocking and rolling. So it's just, are you comfortable doing those things? And if you realize, you might not be able to do everything. You might not want to be the front salesperson, but you might want to be the logistic person in the background. You'll learn that as you start doing it. But the biggest thing I think for a lot of people is they have that idea, but they haven't done anything about it yet. Yep. So just pretend like you do it for a week, for a month. And if there's a problem that pops up, see if you can solve it, and then keep moving on from there. And slowly but surely, you started a business, and now here we are 3 weeks into it, officially selling and kind of just a bunch of opportunities coming our way.
Talk about your process too for evaluating Cliff and his team, and because a big part of buying a franchise is not only believing in the product, but believing in the leadership team. Because if you don't believe in the leader, it doesn't matter how good the product is. If the jockey can't ride the horse, it doesn't matter how fast the horse is. So just talk through what was your kind of feeling? What were some of your mental check boxes that you had to believe in to say, hey, this is the guy that I want to partner with. This is the team I want to partner with.
Yeah. And I think you did a great job reminding me of this. And even just going through your content or seeing your tweets, when you're evaluating a company, it's not just so that the franchise needs to pick you. It's if you're thinking about a Chick-fil-A, right? There's a waiting list like that. But you also want to pick the right franchise and the team that you're working with. So as soon as I was interested, I filled out the form, and Cliff immediately wants to hop on the phone and have a phone call. And the story sounds great, right? Cliff was a previous franchisee. He actually took over and bought the Frios company in 2018, 2019, and changed the business model where previously it was more retail locations, having a storefront. And then, yes, a few folks had maybe an ice cream cart or an ice cream truck. And after owning his own franchise for 6 to 8 months, he bought the whole thing and did it himself and completely pivoted the brand. And now the brand is getting good press and it's growing really fast. So that sounded cool. But I feel like a lot of people can talk about the story and get you hooked at first.
Yep.
But then when you actually hop on the phone with them, you start asking like some harder hitting questions. That's when you see, do they really believe in this business and are they going to be supporting you along the way? For me, I find myself to be wanting to take risks and be pretty creative. So it was interesting because I think I joined at the perfect time. Frios is still under 100 territories nationwide, but we're going to be surpassing that soon. I'm sure Cliff would love to talk about that. And they had a foundation of there's Cliff, who has been there and done that as a franchisee. Then they have Matt Cook, who is responsible for financing and all things trucks. Then there's Allison Groom, who I just kind of fell in love with from the start. She was just my like go-to point of contact. As soon as we really started getting serious about wanting to do this and committing full time and leaving my job. So slowly I got to know these people and realized like they're not just talking out of their ass. Like they've done it before. I believe in what they're actually saying, and they allow you to kind of discuss like where you want the business to go or how you see the business going, because not everybody's like me who is going to quit their job, have their fiance quit their job, invest all of their money. You know, some people might have some kids, right? So they might start with a push cart and then they might get the truck. But as I told them what my plan was, then I saw the resources that they could provide. And I'm happy to go into some of those resources, because without it, you know, I would still probably be at the stage where it's like, what's my domain? You know, and what's my brand and what's my logo? So
so what are some of the resources you think that made this easier for you and gives you confidence?
So biggest thing from a marketing perspective is now we kind of have marketing templates everywhere, right? Frios has been there, done that in multiple different cities. So say I want to go to a festival or I'm doing a food truck night, which we're actually doing tonight at a restaurant nearby. And I just need something quick marketing wise. There's Canva, there's a template that you make it for yourself, and that just saves you time.
Yeah,
right? Like
it's super easy.
Like that saves you the time to do so. Actual corporate training was really helpful. I was there for 2 days, and we just went through like all the facets of running a business in general, because it isn't just marketing, it isn't just selling, but it's getting, like I spoke about before, just the foundation of your business set up so that you're ready to go. So licensing, permits, kind of where should we prioritize based on how we want to grow. And then I had a weekly call with Allison until maybe like it was 2 or 3 months into it. And then we started kind of talk little less and less and less. Now it's time for us to run the business. And I can call them up whenever. We have an amazing ticket system, which is brand new. So anytime that I want to, you know, get in contact with Cliff, get in contact with Matt, whoever on the corporate team, I know that there's a process to do that. They're going to take care of it within 24 to 48 hours, and it's going to make me happy at the end of the day. So I'm pretty organized.
That support system is like a key part that people have to underwrite. And how did you go about? You know, franchisors have to provide, you know, there's an item 19, right, in the FDD, which is like financial information where they talk about sales and profits and whatever they want to talk about. Some brands don't disclose anything for various reasons. Frios is one of those brands. So you had no like financial item 19 from the franchisor. So how did you kind of come over that? Was it just kind of running your own pro formas? Did you talk to other people? Like, you know, a lot of people struggle with this. How did you kind of overcome it?
Yeah. So I think something I did is like, all right, what do I know I can get into? I think I can get into Market Days, which is a festival in Chicago that has 100 to 200,000 people that have gone there before. I actually previously worked there as a vendor for a restaurant, and we sold beer and food, right? So I kind of got the idea of what it takes to be into that festival. And I just did some backwards math, right? Where it's, all right, based on my conversations with them and with other franchisees, how have they done at a festival, maybe of that size or smaller? And if we expect to sell to, let's say, 10% of festival attendees, which, like, if we look back at our Andersonville Midsummer Fest event, I would say we at least hit 10%, if not more, just because of the rain, we didn't sell so much. And then you can do the background math where it's like, okay, if it costs $1.50, that's, for example, some easy numbers, $1.50 to buy the ice cream, and we're selling it for $5, we're going to make anywhere between $3.50 there. How many can we then sell if we have 100,000 people show up? That's 10,000 total pops. 10,000 times 3.5, 35 grand for the weekend. And it's like, when I looked at that number, I was like, whoa, there's something that can happen here. I know there's other expenses, but still just seeing that we can get there and that's an attainable goal, that is what got me to be like, all right, this can happen. And then I know that the only person I can get upset about if we don't hit that goal is myself. So like you talked about with this business, it's more so the amount of hours and work you put into it, while also balancing, all right, now how do I kind of scale and automate these processes? So I used an example of a festival and knew I could replicate that over and over.
Okay. And so then that, like, logistically, I'm just curious. So like 100,000 people, is that like a 2-day event or a multi-day event?
Yeah. So Market Days is a 2-day event.
So hopefully selling around 5,000 pops per day, if it's 5 and 5 roughly. Okay. And then how many can you serve like per minute? Like can you serve 5? That sounds like a shitload of popsicles to serve, right? In transactions.
It is. So the beautiful thing about it's all prepackaged and it's all in our freezer right there. And I've done it in a way with like our first Andersonville Midsummer Festival. We probably can get out maybe 2 or 3 transactions within a minute. Separate transactions. Someone comes up, they order 5, something, they pay, like, exactly, because it's super quick, right? Yeah, that can be between 1 and 5. And I'm using these square kiosks where we have the van. The van's a great eye catcher. And then we have 2 people standing outside of the van. So we can have 2 different lines going. Okay. You have a partner with you inside of the van. So say somebody comes in, asks for an order. I already have the kiosks hooked up to our Wi-Fi or permanent Wi-Fi, which is within the van. So that way we can definitely churn out those
2 kiosks with like iPads or whatever. And then like orders printing up at the top, and you're just like, okay, you're just
exactly. I got one of them right here.
What's like really cool about this model too is like it's pre-packed. You're just grabbing it and go versus like, the icy, the I forgot, snow cones, right? They gotta like scoop it and then they gotta like pour this syrup on it, and it like takes it takes a minute or so versus much quicker just to grab a pre-packaged thing and hand it to them. Or like the donut concept, which like they have to fry the donuts, and then you've got air fryer and licensing and all this other crap, which is like, that's what's like pretty cool about the model, is the speed to which you can do this.
Definitely. Yeah. And there's not a lot of prep work that goes into it. It's awesome rolling up to a festival. We'll get there at our load-in time and they'll give us 2 hours, but we're loaded up and ready to go in 30 minutes. Which is great.
Can you see yourself?
You put up the flags.
One of these really big ones, if you've got the cart and then you're like, your fiance, your wife is like working the cart in the crowd, or kind of like going over to try to hit, the east side and the west side or whatever it is. Yeah.
So just the event organizers wouldn't be too happy if we're going down the event, because there are other vendors there. Got it. Okay. That doesn't mean that
conceptually though, other things you might be able to attack like that.
100%. At the first festival, it's kind of, we're a brand new brand. So people see us and they don't know if they want to try us yet. So I printed out like 500 BOGO coupons, and I went up and down the fest and just walking up to people, smile on my face, gave them my 10-second pitch on, hey, we're a brand new ice cream truck. We're right at the corner. Would love for you to try one. And we're doing a buy one, get one today. And that sort of thing is how you can interact with the festival, be a good time, because people that are going there as well, they're there to be sort of entertained, and they're there for the vendors, they're there for the music. So you just have to lean into that and just, I think, make it as experiential and cool as possible. Yeah. Plus, like you said, part of the brand is like the tie-dye truck, it's the neon lights, it's the music. It's like there's like a party going on, and then you serve these, handmade gourmet, whatever, popsicles. How do you see it in the wintertime? So like Chicago, it's cold. Like, what's your plan? Yeah, a lot of people have been asking me this, and I have ideas, right? But I'm sure these ideas will change by September, October, just based on how I operate. But for right now, I think we're going to be leaning a lot more into just events and indoor events in general. In 8 days, we're going to be doing a corporate event with Discover, one of the bigger credit cards out there. And that's indoors, and we're doing something called Pops and Prosecco with them. So it's a 400-person event. Everybody's going to have their champagne glasses, and they're going to put our strawberry mango popsicle inside of it. It's going to look super cool.
That's awesome.
Taking photos. We're getting our cart actually wrapped with Discover branding. So we're going to lean more into those things. There's still weddings that might be happening in the wintertime. And thankfully, Chicago, it's a city that just is kind of built for these sort of things. There's a convention center here.
Yeah, because they know it's cold. So there's a lot of inside stuff, and then like there's seasonal, right? So I'm sure there's like the pumpkin ones in the fall, and I'm sure there's going to be like the mint cinnamon or whatever ones and the peppermint ones in the wintertime, and the Christmas parties and all that other stuff, right? And it's just a matter of pivoting, and maybe you work on wholesales and other stuff then. So
exactly. So we're more so leaning events, and I was going to go the route of wholesale. I'm probably going to start pushing wholesale just further in around September timeframe, because they're going to be getting a little colder here. I'll already have, hopefully a couple other people helping me at that time. But then it's right now just finding maybe potential opportunities of who I want to reach out to. There's somebody who, if you're familiar with Bartool Sports, the founder of that, Dave Portnoy, he does pizza reviews around the city. He was just here a week ago, and I ended up meeting a business owner of this place called The Slice Shop. It's at the Belmont Red Line, right in kind of the heart of Lakeview, a great area to be. I was outside of there trying to sell people ice cream from the Red Line station. He comes out, hey, this looks really interesting. What do you got to sell? Long story short, we are going to be doing right next to the cash register, a small little freezer that holds 100 Frios ice cream bars. And they just got a review done by Dave Portnoy. It's going to be releasing in the next couple weeks. And hopefully with that influx of customers that he has going in there, we'll also have the influx of people who just want to do a grab purchase like that. So slowly finding opportunities like that in the wintertime as well. Okay,
cool. What's your favorite flavor?
It's on the business card. It says cookies and cream because I'm basic. I love Oreos. There's huge chunks of Oreos in there, but literally every time I get wowed by something else. The key lime pie literally has a graham cracker crust inside of it. It's an inverted pie. It's crazy. The blueberry cheesecake, you wouldn't think that you can put cheesecake on a stick, but you can. And I can go on and on about cream flavors.
My daughter, so my daughter likes cotton candy. She's 6. In general, she likes cotton candy, and then she wants a cotton candy pop, and then she's eating it, and there's like literally cotton candy in it.
Yes, and I try to describe to people what they taste. They taste exactly the way they sound, right? Yeah. So our Fruity Pebbles, if you like Fruity Pebbles, it tastes like a cold bowl of Fruity Pebbles cereal. So that's going to be the one for you. So while you may not like every single flavor you have, that just might not be because you don't like mangoes, right? But we're going to have a flavor you're going to going to enjoy.
That's awesome. Do you have any questions for me?
Just advice in general, because I see what you're doing, right? And remind me how many locations that you have now?
As of today, we have 32. We have 200 employees. Yep. Right,
200 employees, 32, and you've been so helpful. When I reached out to you and like, hey, I met with a business owner who is in 100 plus wholesale locations, and I'm thinking that I can grab in there and maybe we can work together somehow. And you were super helpful there. How did you deal with early on taking a step back from the business and letting your employees do the work? Because I know I can sell really well. I know I can write the best emails. I know I can do X, Y, and Z. How do I take that step back?
That's great. So I think, the goal is to always replace yourself. Like you should have the goal that an 80% solution is good enough. And so you can replace yourself. And so you really think about what's the highest and best use of your time? Like what can you do better than anybody else? And like those things are what you should focus the most amount of your time on. So like, I would guess that someone else could hand out pops just as good as you could hand out pops, right? Like, but someone like really like
love doing that though. That's the thing.
But that's like maybe do it for fun, but like your highest and best use is really like creating those relationships, right? Getting in front of that pizzeria guy or that event coordinator or like the corporate, Discover guy or the things like that are your best and highest uses. So like your goal should be like 80% of your schedule should be doing those tasks. And anything else not that, should be someone else, right? So, the working the day events, or maybe you go to the night ones because, hey, you love doing it and you're not going to go talk to a corporate discovery guy at 10 to 2 p.m. or 10 to 2 a.m., right? And I think that's good it's good for you to get the reps in, to meet the people, to like bring the energy, but really got to build the team, right? And I think that should be your primary focus, is really starting to build a team. And with knowing, I think a lot of people get stuck in the one location franchise or business or whatever it is because they can't let go, they can't delegate. And then, instead, like, find the guy or the girl and train them, set the expectations, let them try it, let them fail, let them learn, right? And then that's how they improve, right? That's how you learned everything in life, is because you did it and you tried it and some things worked and some things didn't work, right? Yeah. And then once you accept that 80% solution is good enough and that they are growing, now you can keep going. And that's kind of like what I've done at every level, where I was, I managed a store myself, and then I found a guy but I didn't want to do that. So I found a manager and trained him exactly what to do. And then I'd check in and stuff, and eventually was able to do it. And then I was like the district manager, and I, oversaw over six guys, 6 girls. And then, I found somebody to replace me at that level. And then it was, now I'm the COO, and I've got 5, 4, whatever district managers. Then I found a CEO to replace me. And now it's, then what happens is you create like a self-managing team. So a team of people that manage themselves, like kind of within the bounds and the stuff that you've already set. And then that gives you freedom to work on higher and higher value tasks, right? Whether it's, you go out and say, hey, I want to take out the rest of Chicago, and I'm like, gonna do that. And I'm going to build all these like really good relationships, and I'm going to get us into, the White Sox stadium, and I'm going to get us into whatever, like, the Bears and all this stuff. Like, because only you are going to be able to do that. Like, those big deals are going to be you. And then the more presence you have in the market, like, the easier, because the guy you're talking to has already tried it and loves it. Right. And like, I think that's your key is that. And so, I work on building a team. I mean, you'll have raving fans, right? You'll have the people who, are showing up and they talk to you and they seem sharp and they seem motivated and they have good energy, and like, get those guys on board, as, part-time employees, right? And, you can do a pay for performance model or whatever. So the more you do, the more they can make, but there's some downside protection too. But anyhow, that'd be my recommendation. There's a couple good books. If you want to read, if you like reading, Traction's a pretty good one to get you started. Have you heard of that?
Okay. No, I have not yet.
Yeah, so it's by Gino Wickman. It's called Traction. He talks about an EOS, which stands for Entrepreneurial Operating System. And it's like, you have an operating system for your computer, and like, this is like an operating system for your business. And so he talks about, and it's, when it's just 2 people or 3 people, it's a little hard, but as you start to grow, it becomes, more easy. But you have like a scorecard. You've got kind of this meeting schedule. You have each role in the company and what are they responsible for? And then it kind of provides you a framework that your business can fit in. And then as you scale, like, you can keep that same framework and scale it up. So, that's a good one to kind of read and get some ideas going. So
100%, I appreciate it.
Cool. So where can people connect? Where can they learn more about kind of what you're up to and follow along?
Yeah. So if you just go to our website, it's friospops.com/Chicago. On there is going to have everything linked: our Instagram, our Facebook, LinkedIn, etc. Folks are more than welcome to connect with me on LinkedIn as well. Just Fabio Ceasar. I'm going to be wearing the tie-dye shirt, so it's hard to miss. And this summer as well, we'll be at the Taste of Chicago, which is going to be fantastic. Market Days, Lakeview Taco Fest, and just all of these bunch of events around the city. So if you see a tie-dye truck around the city, it's ours, and feel free to come up to it, because it's most likely going to be me or my fiance in there for the first summer.
Awesome. Great. And if everybody's interested in learning more about Frios, they can, connect with me on Twitter or LinkedIn or, email. I think it's all in the show notes here, and happy to get you connected to Cliff, and you can learn what it's like to sell popsicles, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Awesome. Cool. Well, thanks, Fabio, for coming on, sharing your story. It's been great, and enjoy working with you. I know Cliff thinks really highly of you. He told me you're one of his favorite franchisees, so don't tell anybody else that. But yeah, so cool. Thanks, man.
All right, I'll talk to you later.
That's all we got for this episode with the Business with Beers podcast. One thing that would really help both us and other new potential listeners is to rate the show and leave a comment in iTunes, Stitcher, wherever you listen. Also, make sure to link up with me on your preferred social media platforms, LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. You can find all my links at brianbeers.com. Please just share the podcast with anyone who you think might enjoy it. And until next time, remember to take the actions others won't, to live the life that others don't.